Good afternoon and welcome to Kunyuma Private Game Reserve here in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. My name's Brent, on camera with me today is Andrew, and in FC is Tara and Nikki. For those of you who don't know, we are literally live by a few seconds from the African bushveld to wherever you are in the world. And as you can see behind me, just over my shoulder, is a young male leopard. And when I heard from Steph this morning that they'd found this particular Kunyuma, who happens to be my favorite in the area, I couldn't help myself but come immediately and start with him. Let's have a quick look at him. So for those of you who weren't with us this morning, we got a report that Kunyuma had made a kill last night. So first thing this morning, Steph went out in search of where the kill was, and we're going to have a quick look at it now. So there's a steenbok in the tree. I'm not sure whether it's a male or female yet. I haven't been able to see around the other side, and we don't want to drive around just to see what sex the kill is. We might disturb the leopard where he's lying at the moment. That's one of the best things about being able to stay in an area for a prolonged time, is that you actually get to follow the leopards quite regularly and get to know them as individuals. He's got a particularly interesting personality. He's slightly deranged and mad in the head, and that's probably why I like him so much. Also a very, very successful hunter. But as you can see from him, it's hot as Hades at the moment. It's probably just over 32 degrees Celsius, or between 30 and 33 degrees Celsius. Very few clouds in the sky. Hot and dry. So I couldn't resist starting with this leopard, although he's not going to be doing too much at the moment because it is so hot and he's got a nice full belly of steenbok. He's not going to move too much. So we decided we'd have a quick look here at the starter drive. We're definitely going to come back here when it gets cooler, and hopefully he heads up into the tree and starts feeding. So other news today from Steph is that there was some elephant and buffalo around Buffelshoek Dam. It's quite hot, so hopefully the ellies will be drinking. And there was also female leopard tracks in that area. So we're going to go see if we can follow up in that area while Mr. Kunyuma sleeps off his steenbok. And hopefully when we come back later in the afternoon when it's cooler, he might head up the tree, start feeding. And there's also a very good chance Gowrie Dam isn't too far from here, and he might head down that way for a drink when it's a bit cooler. But it's always fantastic to be able to start a drive with a leopard, particularly for me, this leopard. We shall be seeing you later. Not even a hiss. Isn't that what's strange? You see, he hisses at us quite frequently, and but generally from his body language, even while he's hissing, his tail isn't flashing around, and that it's sort of a strange characteristic that he's of that particular leopard. So for those of you who are new to our live safaris, we are very interactive and we encourage you guys to send us questions, and you can do that by using an email address, which is questions@wildearth.tv, or you can just use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Or you can just use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So not only do we traverse on Kunyuma private game reserve, we also head onto the neighbouring property, Arathusa, depending on what game viewing is happening. This particular part of Southern Africa has phenomenal game viewing, specifically the cats, and is world famous for its leopards. So while we're driving through the bush, we're constantly scanning and reading the bush as such. It is like a constant news that's just updating, from the different birds that call, from the tracks that have passed during the day. It's always telling you something. You just have to learn how to listen and read the newspaper, so to speak. Through quite a steep dip. Sometimes with being able to broadcast live from the bush, we do face little challenges in going through low-lying areas. But fortunately, there's very few areas, so we try to move through. Welcome back, guys. We've just bumped into a small group of kudu antelope, and there's two youngsters who seem to be quite sprightly running around. I'm just going to reverse a little bit. Here's a female kudu. I think one of the most striking things that people who see kudu for the first time always notice is their ears. Sort of like radar dishes, designed to pick up every little sound around them. Oh, there's a bull coming in front of us, Andrew. One of the bigger antelopes that occurs here at Kunyuma. Is he going to stop behind the quarry? I'm going to move. So what he was doing there was scratching his horns. I was just trying to see if we could get a view of him scratching his ears. But unfortunately, just the wrong side of the bush this afternoon. Come back behind us. We've still got the females right next to us. So kudu bulls aren't territorial like quite a few other animals. They will only generally fight when there's a female in estrus. So they will quite happily coexist in bachelor groups till a female comes into estrus, and then they will start following and fighting over that particular female. So they don't have territories as such, rather home ranges that they wander in. And most of your spiral horned antelope that occur here, which are the kudu's part of the family, like Inyala and bushbuck, have a very similar sort of setup. None of them are particularly territorial until a female is in estrus. There's a young male there as well. So I was saying earlier, just those ears really stick out, and they're designed to pick up the tiniest sounds in the bush. So I want you guys at home to try something. You might feel a little bit ridiculous when you do it, but it'll just give you an idea of how important a kudu's hearing it is, and having those huge radar-like ears helps to pick up all the sounds. So if you just take your hands and you place them behind your ears and you stick out like that, and you'll see how much more you'll be able to hear. It really is incredible. But you do look a bit silly when you do it. Oh, my earpiece has fallen out. There's a young female there. A very graceful looking antelope. There's another couple of youngsters. Very alert. You also see how they move their ears to face different directions constantly. So the same as if they were looking in different directions, they use their ears to scan different directions. Yeah, well, let them continue feeding as they head off into the quarry bush thickets, and we'll continue off towards Buffelshoek Dam. See if there's anything going to quench. For me, tracking is probably one of my most enjoyable things to do in the bush. And that's probably why I like the dry season so much. It does make it a little easier, and as it gets drier and drier, you're able to see tracks specifically of your predators much more easily. Also, your visibility as the grass starts flattening and drying out becomes greater. Good afternoon, Karen from Oregon. Welcome on Drive with us this afternoon. Karen would like to know if we've had any updates on the hyena den and the youngsters there. I think a couple of days ago Steph went and it was very active. I haven't yet, but I did hear that they were all doing well last I heard. We will try and maybe go have a look when it's cooler. Unfortunately, at the moment with this heat, it's very likely that most of the hyenas will be away from the den, sleeping in the shade, and the youngsters will actually be inside the den, taking advantage of the cool. Here's another tree for you guys. So have a look at the leaves. Very small compound leaves. Very soft. Really soft. To give you a clue about its name, there's a special species of insect that does something very special to it during the dry season, and that's how it gets its name. But also it's got a few little nicknames, and that's quite a lot that's got to do with it, how soft it is. Also, I think it'll work quite well as a fly whisk, so I'm gonna hang on to this one for a while. So please remember to send your answers to questions at wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, use the hashtag SafariLive. For those of you who are new, you'll notice quite often I've got my head off the side of the car. I'm not checking for a flat tire. I'm looking for the tracks, specifically of the predators. So lion, leopard, wild dog, or cheetah. I'm looking very carefully and going very slowly on this road. because of what Steph told me about that. There were female leopard tracks heading in this general area, and because it's been quite warm today, there's a strong likelihood she might have come out into this area and gone down to the dam for a drink. Go ahead. Last station, please go again. Good afternoon, Curious One on Twitter. Curious One on Twitter would like to know what is the purpose of the knobs on the tree. Very good question. I'm not entirely 100% sure. They do have a single thorn coming out of them, so they could be for protection. But if you give me 2 ticks, I'm just going to find a spot in the shade here, and I'll whip out one of my books and see if we can figure that out. And it's always good to stop and listen when you're in the bush. So reading the bush is a multifaceted thing. You can't only use your eyes, you need to be able to use your ears, your smell. Well, let's have a look what it says. Sorry, Amy, just wait. 1 second, we're just going to look here quickly. There we can see the knob that's got a thorn on it. There we go. The younger plants are very heavily adorned with those knobs that are quite hard, and they're tipped with a thorn. So it's probably to discourage different herbivores from feeding off it while it's young. And once it gets older and is out of danger as much, it's got a chance to. It doesn't need so many knobs to protect itself because it's a big enough tree. Can you go ahead? So well done, Darren and Dano, for getting it right. It is a weeping wattle, is this branch that I've been using to swatch myself. Now let's see who remembers from the last drive when we did it, what is one of its slightly more amusing nicknames? And remember to send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv, or just use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. So we'll go talk a little bit about it now quickly. So the reason it's got the name weeping wattle is it's an event at the dry season, and just very often very late in the dry season in certain parts of Africa there's a thing called a spittle bug or a frog hopper beetle, and it attaches itself to the stems, and they're very small, and sometimes you can have hundreds or 50 or 60 on each little branchlet. And what they do is they eat the sap but drink it in at such an incredible speed. They excrete it at almost double the speed that they can drink it in little drops, that it's almost pure water, So in an area that's completely dry and barren, all of a sudden under the weeping wattle, so you can see all the drips like it's been raining under that tree, and you can feel the droplets if you're underneath it. So that's where it gets the name weeping wattle. Let's see if it's got oh, it's a very here we go. It's got some medicinal uses. The bark is used when made into a sort of a concoction with water and heated. It's drunk to help with internal parasites like tapeworms and flukes. Also used with sore eyes and in colic. The root is mashed up and boiled and used as a sort of a dressing for wounds. And very important if you live in Africa, you got to be careful of the black magic, the tagati as it's called here, the witch doctors. If you sprinkle the leaves of a weeping wattle around your house, it's supposed to protect you from evil witches. This is quite an interesting one. Maybe I should try it. A body wash made from parts of this plant is said to cure insanity. Interesting. Very interesting. So sitting like this quietly gives us a chance to read the bush and to listen to what's happening. The bush is like a constantly updating bush newspaper. So it's got it's almost like, rather than the bush, it's almost like I'm trying to think, like an online paper that as soon as anything happens, you're updated by little things, a squirrel alarm calling, or elephant breaking a branch. So it's something that if you're in tune to, you can constantly hear what's going on and read what's happening around you. Go ahead. Alright, so go again with the name. Well done, Winlin. Yes, it is called, sometimes referred to jokingly by a lot of guides in this fire industry, as a toilet paper tree. I'll go more into that now. I know from past experience, quite often when a leopard has come here, they have drunk in this little corner. So I just want to have a sneaky look to see. Not today, unfortunately. But yes. But the one interesting thing about it, and we're going to have a look at another tree a little bit later, and that tree can be confused quite easily with the toilet paper tree, which is very nice and soft. Yeah, I'm not reading you well enough. So guys, so a lot of you guys came through. Would love to be able to say everyone's name, but unfortunately, I think I talk too much as it is already, and I wouldn't have a voice by the end of it. Okay, so she has popped out here during the day, that female leopard. Let's see if I can show you her tracks. go. We're gonna change our plan now. Oh no, just to confuse me, there looks like a track going in the opposite direction as well. Okay, so just give me a second here, folks. Just want to have a look very carefully so I don't make any mistakes here. Move the vehicle so you can see what I'm looking at. I don't think these tracks are from today. I think they maybe from a day or two ago, and I'll show you why. So there's two sets of tracks. There's one coming this way, down towards the dam, which is there. There's one going that way, away from the dam. It has been a bit windy earlier today, so that could explain why the edges are a bit rough, but the tracks going towards the dam are definitely more fresh in my opinion. The edges are sharper, and one of the bigger giveaways is, it's going to be a bit difficult to see here. I don't know if you can see it nicely there. That track there. You see that distinct line through it. Can you see it?
Yep.
So what that is an antline track. So an antline's been moving, and they don't move particularly fast. So, and they generally move during the night. So this is at least a day old. So that's one way that you can sort of tell that it's not from today or right now. Whether these look quite a lot, these ones here look a lot more fresh, and they're on top of the vehicle tracks from earlier today, and they're heading down towards the dam. checking all these roads here carefully. And the tracks do look like they're from quite a lot earlier in the day, so there's quite a few hours between when that leopard would have passed here and now. And specifically this female leopard, or the dominant female leopard in this area, is very well known to most of our regular viewers, and her name is Karula, and she has got a habit which from a tracking point of view makes her quite difficult to find sometimes, because most leopards will tend to lie down during the heat of the day, whereas she seems to walk and hunt during the heat of the day. So where you find her or you have tracks for her, there's a very strong possibility she's nowhere near there in the afternoon. Where's my fly spotter? Standing by. Good afternoon, Felix. Good afternoon, Felix. Felix, it's actually quite a big misconception that leopards sleep in trees. The majority of the time they will actually sleep and rest on the ground, and will go up into a tree if chased by hyenas or lions, or any other predator for that matter, like wild dogs. In sometimes, especially sort of in January, February, it's really, really hot. Sort of 40 degrees Celsius, they will go up and sleep in the trees because there's a bit more of a breeze there and it's a bit cooler for them. But generally, leopards will rest and sleep on the ground, and you'll actually find them on the ground far more often than you sleep in trees, than they do sleep in trees. But lions, on the other hand, just remember there's no steadfast rule with animals. We wrote the guidebooks, but they didn't read them, and they are quite happy to change their mind whenever they want. So just quickly, just not often you get a really good view of this bird. Up, Andrew, up on the left hand side, up, right, down, across, go wide, right side, down, see there, you got, there you go. Yeah. Good afternoon, Aubrey. Kunyuma still in the same position, no stations there. I'd like to make my way there back later. Following up on Mufazzi and go tracks around Buvuzuk Dam. Okay, copy. Thanks. No problem, Wolves. So as I was saying, there's always exceptions. There's always exceptions to the rules, and in certain parts of Africa, lions are very well known for sleeping in trees, specifically where it's hot, and there's a lot of flies to get away from them. But the main reason lions choose not to sleep in trees and whatnot is that they're too heavy. So it's quite difficult for them to haul that bulk up a tree, and then also, being so big, it's quite difficult for them to find a comfortable place to rest. Good afternoon. Jock from Ohio. Jock would like to know whether leopards track humans. Jock, that's quite an interesting question. They have definitely been known to track humans before, and in certain places they have been known to turn to man-eaters. But as a general rule, I would say sometimes they do, but more from a curiosity point of view. I've definitely been tracked by leopards while walking through the bush here in the Sabi Sands, but it's generally a sub-adult or a youngster, and it's more from a curiosity than rather than that sort of I want to eat you point of view. But in India, there have been outbreaks that have been attributed to leopards that run into a couple of hundred people eaten by leopards. And also there have been some outbreaks in East Africa with leopards. Most of those were quite a long time ago, and a lot of those are generally caused by human pressure. If either the fact that the humans have removed all the animals' natural food sources, so they turn to things like domestic animals, dogs, children. Very nice. A little pair of steenbok. Yeah. I'll just keep still. So there's a pair of steenbok. Quite interesting. A monogamous antelope. Oh, there they go. Let me finish with Jock's question there. So Jock, yeah, it can happen, but it is outside of the norm rather than the norm. So what we saw there was a pair of steenbok. They are a monogamous antelope. Let me just find them quickly in the book. They have quite a few interesting sort of defense mechanism against predator. Because they're so small and because they are monogamous and they do live in a really small territory of around 2 hectares. Oh no, have I got lost? Ready. I've lost it. I thought I had the page. There we go. I'm just double checking their range of their habitat or their territory. One second, there we go. Around 2 hectares. One of the other more interesting things about them is that they are one of the few antelopes that bury their own feces, and they do this because they live in such small territories. It helps them to hide from their presence from predators. And one of their probably their biggest defense mechanism against predators is where they get their name. A steen in Afrikaans is a brick. So their main defense is when a leopard or something gets very close to them, is to try to keep as still as possible. So that's where they got their name from. So they'll wait almost to the last second before running. So a brick antelope, a steenbok. And I've actually seen wild dog sniffing within 30 centimeters of a steenbok that just sort of closed eyes and put its head down and kept dead still. And the wild dog ran past and carried on. They could smell that there was a steenbok around there, but because it didn't move, it didn't trigger that sort of predatory instinct to chase. So very, very interesting little antelopes. They also do not need to drink. They will when they have the opportunity to, but they are not. They get enough water from a dew and also from the plants that they feed off. So the temperature's starting to drop a little bit, which means we might start seeing a little bit more movement from the animals. Go ahead. Well done, Joanne, who got that bird species we had a fleeting glimpse of just now. It was a black-crowned chagra. Very well done, Joanne. You guys are getting good. I'm going to have to start giving you LBJs. And for those of you who don't know what LBJs are, it's little brown jobs, sort of very small, nondescript cisticolas and warblers that you can pretty much only identify from call or sort of tiny little eye stripe, but they can be very difficult to identify. You guys are getting so good, I might even start throwing a few cisticolas your way. I really do love it as it starts cooling down. The bush seems to take on another atmosphere. Standing by. Good afternoon, Ramon from the Netherlands. Ramon says we see so many big animals on these live safari drives. Why don't we see more frogs and snakes? Well, Ramon, the reason we don't see as many frogs is, well, lots of things. Well, actually quite strangely, a lot of snakes eat frogs. It's one of their favorite foods. But a lot of the smaller things that do get eaten by a lot of things, like your frogs, will actually be hiding, and quite difficult to find, especially from a vehicle. You actually have to get out and walk. And what happens with the snakes, they will feel the vibrations of the vehicle as we're driving towards them, and they'll try to get out of our way as soon as possible. And most snakes really don't want to fight with people or cars, especially a car. It's a big scary thing. So they will try to avoid us at all costs. But I really have a special love for frogs, and during the wet season, I've been known to be found in a pair of gumboots, wandering around the seasonally flooded pans, looking for frogs to identify. And one of my favorite frogs that we see quite often here in the Lowveld, and specifically when we're on soils like this, and it'll be after a good rain or an alate emergence, so a whole bunch of flying ants coming out of a termite mound. I'm sure I got my frog book here, I do. It's called a bushveld rain frog. Let me find a picture of him quickly. I don't want to spoil it by saying any more without you being able to see what he looks like. Here we go. I think they're incredibly cute, the rain frogs. To me, he looks like a grumpy old man. He's got these very short, stubby little legs. They're not very big. They're probably about, a big one probably about that big, so about a quarter of the size of the picture on the page. So they actually burrow and they live under the ground for the majority of the year, and they come out after the rains and when there's been sort of explosions of insects. But they do have a funny look, and they look like such unhappy, grumpy old men. And these short, stubby legs, looks like he's been a little fat thing. What's quite interesting, there is a picture in this book, maybe not of a bushveld rain frog doing it, but let me just find it quickly. That because they've got that very funny shaped body, mating's quite difficult because frogs generally need to clasp to mate. So as the female releases her eggs, the male releases his sperm onto the eggs and fertilizing. But now these guys are so fat and round, they can't grab. So it's very difficult for them to mate. So they've actually developed a very, very unique system to help ensure the eggs get fertilized. Just want to see if I know there is a picture of it in here. What is the number? 19. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, pretty. I know I've seen the picture of it somewhere. Sure, maybe it's in my other frog book that's not with me. Let me just keep checking for a second and then I'll explain what it is, because it is very interesting. There we go. The males are also much, much smaller. This is not the same, which is my favorite frog. This is one that occurs up, but it's got the picture. So you see, if the female is walking around and moving, the male would just fall off. So what happens is the female secretes a substance that actually glues him to its body. And sometimes the females have to then secrete another substance that will release them from that position. But sometimes it looks like the females forget, and they walk around with the guy sort of stuck on top. He can't jump off. So it is a very interesting adaptation for ensuring that the eggs get fertilized, and that's the whole family of rain frogs do that. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Frogs are wonderful, and I'd love to spend more time with them. It's just a bit difficult while you're in a vehicle. You actually need to be on foot and sort of fiddling around on the edge of pans. And as we come into dry season, a lot of them will go into hibernation. You will always find that there are frogs around, especially around the permanent water sources, specifically rivers that flow in that. But in general, we won't see very many frogs now as we head into the drier, colder months. Hello, hello. Some female leopard tracks. Yeah, definitely from today. Nice and crisp. See there? There we go. Oh, well, let's definitely have a look at these guys. It's the right time of the day that we might be lucky and the leopards might be moving. These are very fresh. They're on top of the vehicle tracks. And your eyes ready?
Yep.
Go ahead. Good afternoon, Valerie. Valerie would like to know, how can you tell which frog you should touch and which frog you shouldn't? Generally, the frogs you shouldn't touch are very brightly colored. Although we are very lucky in this area, there's no frog that you shouldn't really touch. But there is one that if you put it in your mouth, you might get quite sick. And that is also a very pretty frog. There he is. That's the one, and as I said, very dark or bright colors is one of the ways that a lot of animals tell you, and insects tell you, that they're noxious. That is a oh, excuse me, banded rubber frog. So that's the only one that is supposed to be able, if you have a sort of cut on your skin or whatnot, and you pick it up, the secretion from his skin is noxious and might make you quite ill. Let me just have spotted. There we go. I'll just have a quick check on what it says about the. So I mean, but I mean, you have to be very unlucky. Maybe some people have allergies to it. The one nice thing about it is that it does have a very cool call, which. You hear it a lot during the summer months and the wet season here, and it goes, and it keeps that going for quite a while. It's a very, very, very nice call. I'll do it one more time before I start getting too embarrassed. And that's enough. Let's get back to tracking leopards. Nkonzo for Mafazi Ingwe, heading south on Drakensberger. I'll follow up for a short while. Oh, it looks like that female's gone off the road. We're just going to check a little bit further along. Sometimes they'll go off, scent mark a bush, then come back. Just have a quick look. And there's a quick look up towards our boundary, and then I'll come back. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Chris. Welcome on Drive with us. Chris would like to know, how can I tell that it's a female leopard just from the tracks? Well, Chris, it's the size. And generally within, quite often, sometimes within under a year, a female leopard that's got male cubs, those cubs will have definitely bigger feet and be bigger than her physically. So we judge from the size of the tracks. That's generally how we tell the difference between male and female tracks. So there's quite a few little roads and bigger roads in this area. What we're doing is just zigzagging through to see if the tracks come out on any of these roads. So it doesn't look like any tracks have come out here, so the next road we're going to head back west. Oh guys, there's one of my favorite birds. It's not something you see very often, but they are around. But they're incredibly beautiful bird. Incredibly beautiful bird. It's called a Shelley's Franklin. And they're normally very, very skittish and they hide. Andrew and I actually had a very brief view in this area of one not that long ago, and there's another one coming out onto the road. So it's quite rare to see them this relaxed out in the open. So we're just going to sit quietly, and maybe the other one will come out as well, and you can see the difference. Just go in closely there. I think I made a boo-boo.
I'm as close as I can go.
That looks like a male Coqui Franklin, sorry. But I could have sworn the other one I saw looked like a Shelley's. Let's have it. Yeah, that's definitely a male Coqui Franklin. Also another one of those Franklins that you don't see that often. So if you guys managed to get a screenshot of the first one that was just on the edge, it is possibly a female Coqui, but it could also be a Shelley's, and sometimes they are seen together. So if you guys managed to have a quick look there, see which Franklin that was. But just that there were only two of them, I think I'm going to lean towards Coqui. We're going to try move a little bit further forward. But you see they move very slowly. One of their defense mechanisms is right next to me. So just try not move too fast. That's the female is the one we're going to look at, the other one. It's running off. There's a couple of them in here. See, rather than burst and take off, they rather sort of scurry away with their heads down to sort of not give away their presence. That was very close to a whoopsie for me there. So I got quite excited because we saw Shelley's and heard Shelley's calling in this area a couple of days ago when we were out tracking. So there's, I'm pretty sure it's a Coqui Franklin there. There's the male. So let me go a bit further away for you there, Andrew. And there's the female. So what happened is I just saw that white throat, and I was like, oh, Shelley's. But then when you looked a bit closer, I was like, hang on, it's not really a Shelley's. But Shelley's has got a great call. Because normally you hear them calling a lot, but you don't see them. And they go. And how my grandfather taught me how to remember that. He says they're saying, to drink a beer, to drink a beer, to drink a beer, to drink a beer. Anyway, good afternoon, Lynn. Welcome on Drive. Lynn would like to know what birds we can expect to see in the winter months. Well, Lynn, quite a big variety. Most of our bird species are resident, and the migrants are in the minority. So we'll see 4 different species of Franklin, and one of the nice things is that we are seeing things now like Coqui Franklin and Shelley's Franklin now that the grass is getting dry and shorter. When it's so thick, in summer we don't really see them too often. And I'm sure we'll have snake eagles around, the battaliers will still be around, vultures, your cisticolas or cisticolas, palaces, crombecs, a lot in other words. But the ones we're probably going to see quite a lot on game drive, starlings, helmet shrikes, what else do we, heron, and then obviously lapwings, crowned, blacksmith, and lesser black-winged. And what else can I think of offhand at the moment? Oxpeckers! Hornbills, thank you, Andrew. The most obvious one that we probably see the most of every day, and I completely forget it. Standing by. Well done, Suzanne. Koki Franklin. Just that initial white flash of the throat to the female Koki had me foxed there for a second. As soon as that little boy came out onto the road, I knew. I was like, whoops, the daisies. Just in case there's anyone who's joined us late or is new, my name's Brent, and we're taking you on a live game drive in the Sabi Sands of South Africa, specifically between Kunyuma and Arathusa private game reserves, and we're literally bar a few seconds live in Africa to wherever you are in the world. It's incredible that we are able to share our passion for our home with all of you wonderful people throughout the world who have an interest in nature and wildlife. Standing by. This side, Kunyuma is on steenbok Bamba, just below Ingus Kaya, and a few Dagga boys off down. Negative, I haven't been down to the area on trails or whatnot yet, so I haven't seen any sign yet this afternoon. I'm heading that way. I'll have a look, and if anything I'll let you know. Well, it seems to be a day for kudus today. I mean, often you can go a couple of days without seeing a kudu, and now we're on our third different set of kudus. You can see them browsing. One of the reasons the ears are so big, which we spoke about earlier, is because they are quite often in very thick bush with limited visibility. So they need to have an excellent set of hearing to be able to defend themselves against predators. Very graceful antelope. She manages to keep a bit calmer than me when I have flies all over my face. She at least doesn't try to swat herself. Oh well, leave them be and continue on our merry way. Afternoon F. I'm not sure about the updates from Buffelshoek. I wasn't copying very clearly. But for viewers, Kunyuma is still on a steenbok bumper, same position, just to the north of Engliskaya. Oh, there we go. Well spot. So, a smaller cousin of the kudu we just saw, an inyala. This is the little boy. Tiny little horde starting to stick out, and you can just see that the coat starting to darken. Inyala are quite interesting because they've got quite a very big sexual dimorphism between the male and female, which is not very common in antelopes, where the male looks very different from the female. I'm not talking about sort of their body shape or whatnot, but their coloration is very, very different. See if I can find a picture of a male for you. Or hopefully even better, just now we'll find a male.
You said you were going to find a fly repellent.
No, they're not too bad today. There we go. That's nearly there. Sorry, folks. Or not. Maybe I should stop trying to guess and just look in the index. Okay. So they actually don't even show the female inyala in the book. But there's the male inyala. So he's completely different color. He's a chocolate brown. They do have orange socks, so to speak. But we'll try to find one for you, and then we can have a look properly. And hopefully we can even find a male and a female next to each other. Standing by. Station, can you copy you 1 out of 5? Good evening, Gibby. From Gibby would like to think thick-billed parrots in this area. No, there are two parrots in this area. One is the brown-headed parrot, and the other is a grey-headed parrot. The grey-headed parrot is quite rare, not seen very often. And speaking of, well, there we have a brown-hooded kingfisher.
You have to direct me. You have to direct
Oh,
me.
sorry. To the right. Zoom. 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 Drop. Right. There we go. Up a bit. Right. There we go. Very pretty kingfisher. A brown-hooded kingfisher. It's an insectivorous kingfisher. So he feeds more on insects and that, and doesn't really sit around the water. So Debbie, let me get to your parrots quickly. So Africa does have quite a few indigenous parrot species. As far as I know, we do not have any thick-billed parrots that occur anywhere in Africa. So the grey-headed parrot, number 4, occurs here. Sorry, number 3. And then the other parrot that occurs here is the brown-headed parrot, number 5. Very noisy. You hear them squawking all over the place. But for me, definitely the most incredible parrot viewing I've ever had in my life was while I was living in the Central African rainforest, and you have 1,000 African greys fly over you after feeding in the raffia palms, and all that, and noises and squeals and squeaks. It was an absolutely mind-blowing experience. And you spotted some impala behind me. Guys, I was just wondering, after seeing that brown-hooded kingfisher, all the woodlands are gone. I wonder if anyone can remember when was the last drive. What date was the last drive anyone can remember seeing a woodlands kingfisher? Send your answers to questions at WildEarth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just use the hashtag Safari Live. When was the last time anyone, what date was the last date that anyone can remember seeing a woodlands kingfisher? And we see them all the time. They're on every drive, in your ear constantly. And now they're gone. Moved off to Central and North Africa for our winter. There's an impala having a drink by the looks of things. Just try and get it onto the right side of the water. Isn't that a beautiful scene? Nice reflection. So guys, if you hear a click, it's just my camera. One more for luck. Ah, there's a fun bird I heard it call. See if I can spot them now. So the last time I asked you this bird, guys, it stumped a few of you. Try see if we can get a sight of one of them. Can you see any of them, Andrew?
No.
You'll just keep looking in this jackalberry and this leadwood. You heard the call there. Very peaceful scene. But you see, even though the impala is really thirsty, he'll keep lifting his head and checking around because he's quite vulnerable when his head is down. Oh, I thought I saw the bird move. Oh, we'll have a look. We'll just let this impala finish his drink. See that being constantly alert is what will keep him alive a little bit longer out here. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Tina in Houston. Tina, the dark spot on the flank, I assume you're referring to those very dark patches on his back legs around where his ankles would be. Those are called metatarsal glands. And there's a couple of different theories why you would of what a metatarsal gland does. There's one is that when they get chased by a predator, when all the impalas jump up and kick, they secrete a pheromone that is supposed to confuse predators. Myself, I don't believe that to be true. I think that's a very far fetch. The more sensible explanation from what the pheromone they secrete there is that once they have been chased by predators, they are able to join back into a herd together by using that. Sorry, Tina, you're talking about that dark spot a little bit higher. From that angle we're looking at now, that is just actually bare skin of the belly. Underneath there, it's just showing up quite dark in the afternoon light. And then when he was facing the other direction, the dark matter was his wedding tackle. Thanks very much, Chris. Chris says that the last time that a woodlands kingfisher was seen on drive was the 9th of April. So we must definitely remember that to see if we, when they come back to visit the low veld again, there's a very thirsty impala. Thanks, James, for also confirming the 9th of April was the last day that a woodlands kingfisher was seen on live drives. So we'll leave that boy to continue his afternoon drink. So as the plan from here is we meander towards the den. Now that we might get lucky and see some activity there, and then after that make our way back to the Kunyuma male leopard if he's decided to stop being a sleepy cat and gone up to the tree to start feeding again. Lovely late afternoon night light starting to creep through. The temperature is dropping. It's still a little warm, but it's almost at that sort of ideal temperature. And strangely enough, because of the dry season, with all the dust and smoke in the air, you get some spectacular sunsets. station checked Nisikana this evening. Alright, copy. I'm on Weaver's Nest, making my way towards the position. I'll keep you updated. Negative, nothing. I've come straight from Gary Main. No sign of that. Have you had a look around Zoe's Rebecca's? There was somebody yesterday afternoon, if I remember correctly. Copy, good luck. It's just amazing if we can have a look as we're driving here at how the light plays with all the colours on these bush willows as they're drying out. We're nearly at the hyena den now. Hopefully now that it's cooled down quite a bit, the animals are going to be active. But you never know. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Julia from Houston. Julia would like to know whether brown-hooded kingfishers are resident or migratory. They are resident, so they are with us all year. Out of our insectivorous kingfishers that are with us all year is in this area will be the brown-hooded and the striped, and then around the water in these areas we have pied, malachite, giant in some areas, as well as in very small streams, and I know I've seen them at other places in the Sabi Sands, half-collared kingfisher as your pescivorian kingfishers. And the pescivores, they like to eat fish, and your insectivores feed mainly off insects, although they do take small frogs and snakes as well. So we're approaching the hyena den now. Unfortunately, so far it doesn't look like anyone is home. Well, if the young ones are home, they are down in the den. So unfortunately, no luck. It would have been wonderfully beautiful light to see the young ones in. But with their mothers out foraging, they're probably not going to come out. And even if they did, we probably wouldn't want to spend too much time with them while they were out without their mothers, just in case that us being there invoked their curiosity and they came out to look at us, and a lion or a leopard happened to wander in and kill them. So even if we generally try not view dens and that unless there are adults present, so not to encourage the cubs to come out by themselves. I think we'll make our way back towards the Kunyuma young male leopard and see if he's decided that it's cool enough to grace us with some acrobatics, climb the tree and feed off that steenbok a bit more. Also wonderful golden light. Musica is not active. I'm going to be making my way back towards Kunyuma, just to the north Bengas Kaya. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Bob in Iowa. Bob would like to know whether the black-bellied bustards are still here. They are, Bob. They are resident in this area. I just can't help myself. These little guys have been quite good to me over the last while, helping me find leopards and all sorts. So for those of you who weren't on drive with me a couple of days ago, left-hand side of the termite mound. Zoom in now.
Okay.
Yeah. So those of you who weren't on drive with me a couple of days ago, we were searching for a young male leopard called Quarantine Male, and he'd been lost, and we were trying to track him, and then all of a sudden I just heard the little dwarf alarm call, a dwarf mongoose alarm call, and I just knew immediately that where the leopard was. So I was able to find the leopard due to these little guys on the log. See? Alright, and what they'll be doing now is this. Oh, there we go, in front of us, on the right hand side of the termite. So this large termite mound is probably where, okay, right, there we go, where they're going to bed down for the evening. They'll live in the burrows here, and that'll keep them safe from predators. So as it gets to this time of the day, they'll generally move into one of these burrows, and they'll have quite a few different burrows that they'll sleep in within their home range. But I'll leave these guys to get bedded in for the evening, and let's go see what that young male leopard's up to. afternoon, Evan from North Carolina. Evan would like to know when the last time we saw the quarantine male leopard was, which is Kunyuma's brother, and was he injured? It would have been 2 days ago. When we saw him very close to camp, and he had a slight limp. It might have just been from a thorn. I don't think he was a major injury at all. He might have just stood on a thorn while we were following him. But he was looking a little hungry, nothing too serious, but he could definitely have had a snack. Oh, they have definitely had some actions for the last year. It looks like the hyenas have found the spot. I can't see the leopard. Can you? Ah, he's in the tree. So the hyenas forced him up the tree, and he is feeding. Oh, looks like a very delicate. So he's feeding up in the tree. Standing by. Hi firm, yeah, he's up the tree. I mean, he's arrived and he is feeding at the moment. Just me, more than welcome to come in. Copy that. Okay, I'm just going to try get us in the best position to see what he's up to. Hyenas coming to have a look. It looks like the stomach's just hanging there. And I don't know, those of you who've watched with me, with me a while ago, the first time I love it, he snarls at the leopard from the tree. I mean, snarls at the hyena from up in the tree. So we're going to take a little spot next to the hyena here. You can see that the stomach actually hanging down by a very loose thread. I'm sure when that falls, the hyena has now positioned itself very well to pick up any scraps. You can see what it looks like he's doing there is he's taking pieces of fur off. They'll try to remove as much fur as possible from the carcass. There you saw a bit of it fall down, float down, before they go eat the meat. Unfortunately, they do swallow quite a bit of meat, so they do have hairballs, and their feces has got quite a lot of hair in it, because they are not able to digest keratin, which is what the hair and fur is made of. Unbelievable how patient hyenas are. The first time I ever found Kunyuma, which is quite recently after I started here, and he was also the first leopard I found tracking on foot, and he'd killed a bushbuck in a drainage line, and there was a female hyena who waited 3 full days underneath that carcass, just waiting for bones and bits. There we go, we can see now. We're wondering whether it was a male or female steenbok. We now know it's a male. Just moving into a more comfortable position. That will just have to move for a better view. Go ahead. Good evening, Sharon. Sharon would like to know the weight difference between a leopard and a hyena. It can vary quite a lot depending on the area, but generally a male leopard will be quite a similar weight to a large hyena, anything from sort of about 75 kilograms up to 90 kilograms. But a female leopard would be quite significantly smaller, probably about 20 kilograms, 20 to 30 kilograms lighter than a big hyena. So we can see now we've got a nice view of him plucking. So it's just using those front teeth there to just pluck the fur before, so you can get to the meat. It's amazing if you have a look at those claws. You can see how that cat's claws work there. So they are fully extended now. He's holding the steenbok's head in place. So those claws will actually go back in when not needed and not in use. There we go. You can see all the fur. Standing by if you can make your way. It's only myself here, and then Sean is also going to be moving into this area. FM, just take that Indlela that runs from Quarantine down to Twin Dams to the south of Ingaskaya, and we are to the north, directly to the north of Ingaskaya itself. You can hear the bones crushing there as he's breaking through the whole nasal cavity. There we go. Nose is gone. And now he's going to try break into the cranial cavity where the brain is. There's a high protein there, so it'll be quite a good meal for him. And they're not able to do this on bigger animals because they're not as powerful in the jaws as lion and hyena. Good afternoon to Jackie's 8th grade class. They would like to know which leopard is this and what is he eating. This is Kunyuma. He's a young male leopard and he is eating a male steenbok, and there's very, very little of it left. So he's nearly completely finished the whole thing, and what he's doing at the moment is he's trying to break open the skull to get to the brain, which is a very high protein source for an animal, so it's very good for him to eat. As you see, he's quite careful not to get those horns in his mouth because those are very sharp and could definitely do him some damage. And also, we can't see him now because we're watching the leopard, but there's also a hyena waiting under the tree, just waiting for the leopard to drop any bits of bone and whatnot that it's going to be able to scavenge. There you go. Looks like he's going to take off the ear. Standing by. What's he heard? He's heard something. No. Might be another hyena on its way. We can't see from here. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Guru Raj. Welcome on Drive with us this afternoon. Guru Raj would like to know, when do leopards normally hunt? Well, Guru Raj, they prefer to hunt during the cooler times of the day and at night, but being opportunists, they will hunt any time of the day if an opportunity presents itself to them, but generally they tend to hunt from late afternoon into early evening and throughout the night, and then again into the early morning, with a definite slowdown of activity during the warmer parts of the day. You can see he's managed to break through the cranial cavity there now. You can see the horns are not staying in one place, they're loose. So he's actually cracked the bone at the main part of the cranium, the skull. And you can see there, and he's probably got quite a bit of the brains out already.
He's not going to eat the stomach contents, is he?
Generally not. No, he won't eat the stomach contents. That's just grass. So the hyena heard something fall, so it's just coming to have a sniff. It didn't look like something very big to me. The hyena's got a small bone it managed to pick up that he would have dropped. Amazing to hear that crunching. Go ahead. Good evening, Bob from Iowa. Bob would like to know which of Karula's boys is the oldest. Bob, I think you must be I think you're referring to the current litter. They would be the same age, Bob. They're litter mates, and without actually being witness to the birth, they're probably they're the same age. But if we had to go back into Karula's previous litters, I'm sure there are males that are much older than these two. You can see how he's, every now and then when he lifts again, let's have a closer look, you can actually see he's got the eye out and eaten the eye as well, and the eye socket's completely empty. So it's very unlikely that Kunyuma is going to be here tomorrow. He's literally eaten the whole steenbok. He might be a little bit left on the one leg, but he's just finished the skull. There's very little left on it now. Standing by. There we go, the hyena just heard something drop again, rushed in from sleeping to nothing in a matter of seconds. Good evening, Elizabeth. Welcome on Drive with us this evening. Elizabeth would like to know, would the hyena eat the stomach if it fell? It might try eat the stomach lining, and hyenas might. I have seen them leave it completely before. I've also seen them eat it. Also just depends on how hungry this particular hyena is. I'm just going to go forward a fraction so you can actually see the hyena. Now, obviously, as we move, the hyena's gone back to the same spot it was lying down, but if something else drops, we're in a good position to see what happens now. So if we're lucky, when he's finished munching on what's very little left of this steenbok carcass, he might move down towards the dam just to have a drink. So for those of you who knew and might have joined us late on this drive this evening, just to remind you that we are live from between Juma and Arathusa private game reserves in the Sabi Sands of South Africa. Barring a few seconds of streaming over the internet, you are seeing exactly what I am seeing with my two eyes from all over the world. Oh, we can hear elephants arguing about something in the background. I imagine the ears taste too good. Not much meat in them, they're all gristle. I suppose all the protein counts. Can even hear that crunch, 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 and he's eating the ear. And here comes the hyena, tiny little bone drops. And that hyena was up in a flash.
That's incredible.
That bone must not even been much bigger than my baby finger. But it's behind you, silly. Use your nose, you've walked past it. Here we go. Left, left. There goes one ear. Gulp. And there goes the next ear. And yeah, how gristly. I mean, the ear is almost all gristle. There's very little meat in it.
So that's just a neck left.
A little bit of the... No, I don't think that's the neck. We'll see now.
I'm sure that.
Yeah, it is a little bit of the neck. There you go, you can see how I was saying using his teeth to remove the fur before he starts eating. Another piece dropped, very small again. Go ahead. So Remy and a few other people are wondering, did he eat the horns? No, those two things that fell that set the hyena off running in, I think those were both the horns that fell then. Yep, the hyena just picked up a horn. But I can't taste very nice. It's amazing on these smaller animals that how they can almost devour the entire thing. Go ahead. So even though this might be quite gruesome, watching a male leopard eat through the skull cavity of a small steenbok, it is nature, and an animal like a leopard wouldn't be able to survive unless it did kill other animals. I mean, there are protein eaters and meat eaters, and they also help with keeping the other animals healthy. So as soon as there's a sick or injured or old, they'll get preyed on by one of the predators. And the same goes around for the leopard. As soon as a leopard gets old, he's either going to be killed by another leopard, or by hyenas, or by lions, or even by buffalo or elephant. It's just the way life is. Sometimes we try to sort of distance ourselves and desensitize ourselves from nature, and certain sort of feel-good movies, cartoon movies about animals, sometimes give us the wrong idea about what actually happens out here. It is gruesome, but it is life. Now he's getting into the leg there, and what he's doing is cracking open the leg to get to the marrow on the inside of the bone. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, and that looks like the last of it. Even though sometimes he might swallow the hooves, he's not going to be able to digest them. Quite often cough them up or vomit them up later. And a funny look after swallowing the hooves. Sorry, Gail. Gail asked us a question. How many hyenas are waiting for pieces of his kill? Gail, there's only one at the moment. He's eating a piece of skin. Oh no, it's the other leg. You should hear that crunching as he goes through to try to get the marrow out of the bone again. Go ahead. Good evening, Lenny from Washington. Lenny would like to know whether big cats have taste preferences for different animals. It's very difficult to say, but I definitely say certain of the big cats have a taste preference. I'm not sure whether it's a taste preference or whether the species is most abundant or easiest to catch, and that's the quite difficult thing. But in certain areas, lions will hunt buffalo, in certain areas they won't. In certain areas, leopards will hunt quite a few different antelope, and in other areas they won't. I think a lot of it's got to do with availability of prey rather than a taste preference. Although saying that, I've seen lions which will bypass impala and zebra and all sorts and only go for really big animals: hippo, buffalo, elephant, giraffe, and warthog. So I thought initially we think maybe it's possibly the prey size, so they can catch a big thing, can feed them all for a long time. But then they had this thing, they always went for warthog, but they would walk past her. Oh, that's going to be very smelly for us down here now. You can see he's just opened the stomach. That smell's going to drift towards us now. So he's eating the sinew, or trying to eat the sinew on the side without getting the stomach content in his mouth. But doesn't seem to be doing the best job of it at the moment. So back to your question. So I'm not sure. I generally think most animals will take prey on preference due to size and availability rather than taste. But you never know, I might be completely wrong. So the hyena's getting confused. So bits of half-digested grass are falling out, and the hyena keeps thinking it's food. Well, having the inside of an animal's stomach fall on a hyena, fortunately for hyena, it's definitely might actually improve their general smell. He's more. Hyena's getting a semi-digested grass shower. So here we go, you can see he must have been quite hungry. And quite often leopards will sometimes leave the stomach lining unless they are hungry, but he obviously was quite hungry, so he's actually eaten a lot of the stomach lining.
Smells not too bad actually.
I think the wind's in our favour. Negative. I cannot move, their vehicles blocking me in. Shame old Kunyuma did not leave much for the hyena. So as it's getting cooler and a bit dark now, and there's no meat left as such, see him cleaning his face and his paws. There's a strong possibility he might come down the tree and make his way towards the Kunyuma waterhole, which is not too far from here. Go ahead. Good evening, Teresa on Twitter. Teresa would like to know if the prey's meat might taste different depending on what they eat. I'll be back with your question now. The hyena has now decided to depart. You can see there's no food left. We're going to go forage elsewhere. I guess it's possible depending on what they eat, and depending on the area they're in, Teresa, and whether the meat tastes different. I mean, if we think about beef from different areas and fed differently definitely tastes different. So it's definitely possible. Go ahead. The amazing thing you can see is taking his time to clean. He might actually come down by the looks of things now. So we're in the perfect spot. He's going to come down right next to us. So he's literally probably 3 meters from where Andrew and I are sitting now. And waited for the hyena to leave, and there's a strong possibility he might move towards the dam. You can see he just turns around, checks, making sure the hyena didn't come back. Though he likes to fight hyenas from time to time. I've seen him sneak up and bite and scratch a hyena on the bottom before, just for good fun, which is quite a positive sign for him as a young male leopard. That means when he gets older, he'll have quite a bit of aggression. Not all male leopards will take on a hyena, but if he's already taken them on at this age, there's a possibility he's probably going to be able to get himself a really good territory when he gets older. And just as I predicted, it looks like he might head straight towards the dam. He's just checking out where that hyena went from. He could also just lie down there. Go ahead. Good evening, Anne from Durban. Anne would like to know, does Kunyuma know exactly where the water is, or can he smell it? I would think he knows exactly where this water is. He spent a lot of time and grew up in this area, specifically when he was a young cub. He was quite often stored in the drainage line around there. Copy, no problem. I'm going to stay with him. No problem, F. How are you for?
What were you narrating for?
Sorry?
What were you narrating for?
We're live.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Online or?
Yeah, on the Nat Geo website. www.wildsafari.what's it? WildSafariLive.com.
So just go to Google and type WildEarth Safari. It'll come up with the first one.
Alright, so enjoy, guys. We're going to try and keep up with the leopard. Yeah, now you can smell that. That's the smell of that. The stomach contents. If you can just tell him longer, say www.wildearth.tv. Come on, for. Okay, I've lost sight of him now while we're having a quick chat there. There he is. He's heading straight for the water like we predicted. Hi, Kobus, it's Brent here. I'm still with Kunyuma. He's now mobile northwest towards WildEarth Dam. He is mobile towards Barry Dam. www.wildearth.tv.
Do you want to try and predict which way he's going to walk and we go in front of him?
I think he's going to head for the water. He's just finished eating. He's got quite a bit of stomach content in his mouth, and even for a leopard who can eat completely rotten meat, I doubt that semi-digested grass is going to be a big favorite for him. So I'm quite sure he'd like to go wash some of it out of his mouth with a nice long drink. We're just going to try to jump up around in the headland now. Where did he disappear to? Oh, there he is. Stopping for ablutions. I love the colours at this time of the year with the changing bush willows. They just seem to match so well with it. Especially with that leopard. Just gonna loop around the next thicket. He's definitely not in a hurry to get down to the water. He's taking a very casual stroll. Which side of the bush is going to pop out? Left or right? You got him there and hiding behind there.
Yeah, is there?
You want to go forward a bit?
I think he may be walking this. Here he is, here he is.
I know, go. So even though he's just fed, he is an opportunist. So he just scouted ahead, having a quick look, make sure there wasn't a possible meal out there. So wide. Isn't that stunning? That sky, male leopard. As a whole. So, guys, it's been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful afternoon. I'm so glad I was able to share it with you. And we've been very lucky, and for me, I'm very lucky I got to spend some time with my favorite leopard in the area. And it was nice. We got to do some different stuff. We saw some birds, did some trees, saw a really nice bird that I actually personally haven't seen at Kunyuma yet, which is the Coqui Franklin. That was very nice, and just all in all a great day. I'd like to say thanks to the whole world, whoever's out there watching. It's been great taking you guys on drive, and we can't wait to do it again tomorrow morning. And from all of us here at WildEarth, I hope you have a fantastic evening or morning wherever you are in the world.